Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate everybody joining me this afternoon for this webinar, kind of a continuing webinar on maintaining business continuity through this time of disaster. So I hope to keep this relatively short, but maybe answer some questions that all of you might have in regards to Microsoft Teams. And that's our topic today, is how to use Microsoft Teams to stay connected. It's something that we did immediately inside our organization through about 2.5 weeks ago when we started working almost exclusively remotely, is use Teams dramatically more inside my company. We've been using it for about a year now for communications between our team members and our staff members. And just working remotely has accelerated our use. And hopefully I can share some tips to you guys today that will be useful inside your organization of how to better use Microsoft Teams and answer any questions that you might have. So we'll get started. Just before we get into the nuts and details of it, I just want to extend this to everybody as I did last week, that were in my disaster prevention and recovery seminar that we did, that I'm willing to extend a 30-minute consultation to any of you at any time if you have any questions in regards to Teams or any other part of working remotely at this time. So feel free to reach out to me. I'll share a link at the end on how to get that consultation. So who am I? Started Stimulus Technologies in 1995, and we help businesses in all aspects of technology. And so just kind of, most of you I think know me pretty well over the years, but hopefully the information that I share today will be useful for all of you. And it's always useful for me as I prepare these presentations on how to better use the software. So Microsoft Teams, it's a collaboration tool that Microsoft developed and deployed a few years ago. It's actually an upgrade to Skype for Business, an older product that they had, and that's been converted into Teams. And so this tool allows for different things like chat, video conferencing, document sharing, document editing, and meetings. And the nice thing about it is it's available in a wide variety of platforms. So you can use it on your desktop, iOS, Android, Mac, through just a web browser. It's available anywhere. So I'll kind of get into how to get Teams and how to use it a little bit better. So who gets Teams? That's the biggest question. So if you're using Office 365, you've had Teams for a while. They used to require that you'd have to have a separate download and install, but as of a few months ago, they started deploying Microsoft Teams in all desktop Office 365 installations if you have Business Essentials or Business Premium. For enterprise customers, if you're E1, E3, or E5, it's also included. But because of the COVID-19 disaster that we're going through right now, you can get 6 months free of Teams for anyone. And so most of these features that we're going to be talking about today are available for anybody that wants to use that. So I'm going to distribute the slide deck after it, so you don't have to frantically copy down these links. I'm going to share another one here in a second. In 30-45 minutes this afternoon, I'm not going to be able to get in depth in all the Teams. Microsoft has actually released some quick training videos on different areas of Teams. And so this is the website for that. There are a couple of dozen of these short training videos that will help maybe answer some questions. They're just more or less overviews on different features inside of Teams. And we're going to discuss some of those this morning. So the question is, if you don't have Teams right now, how do you get it? The first thing you'd want to do is log into portal.office.com, use your email address, your corporate email address and password to get in there. And then if you'll notice if you don't have it currently, there's an option right here in the top left corner to click Install Office, and you'd go into there and install Office if you don't have it on your computer. So if you, for example, if you have Office 365 currently, and it was installed on your Office computer, each user inside of Office 365 has an opportunity to install it up to 5 times on 5 different devices that they have. So if you're working on your home computer right now and you want to get the desktop application of Microsoft Teams installed there, you can log in to portal.office.com right there, and then click on Install Office on your home computer, and that'll be one of your 5 installs of Microsoft Office. So that's a great option if you're working from home to get Office installed, including Microsoft Teams there. You can also access Microsoft Teams online, and it actually has a lot of the features that we're going to be discussing today, including video conferencing, is available through directly on the website. So that's the URL that you want to go to, teams.microsoft.com. And that gives you the opportunity to log in. If you notice, this is a Chrome web browser that I'm logged into here, and it gives you most of the same functionality, exactly the same look as if you were logged into the desktop application. So if you're, at home and the only computer that's available is your kid's Chromebook, and they're done with their schoolwork for the day, you can just, rather than installing the applications, you can just go directly to the website. So one of the, as we were discussing internally on how to best use Teams internally and act like an office, one of the first things that we discussed internally is how do we know if people are out to lunch, not sitting at their desk, maybe in a meeting, working on a project, whatever it may be. And so we thought that one nice feature about Teams is the ability to set your status. And so in the top left-hand corner of Teams is, if you click on your initials right there in the top right-hand corner, it drops down and gives you some profile options. And then this option right here is set status message, which we're using quite consistently now inside the organization. And what that does, it allows you to tell other people on your team or other people inside your organization what's going on right now. So, I put out there my current status message is holding a webinar with some awesome people. I appreciate everybody that's joined today about Teams. And so when anybody tries to chat with me, it'll pop up and let them know that that's what I'm doing right now. So for example, if your employees want to, when they go to lunch, they can set their status message out to lunch, and so that they know that they're out to lunch, or helping my kids with schoolwork for the next half hour, or whatever it may be. Very similar type of thing to hanging a sign on your door of what's going on, and if for some reason you're not able to get back to a chat or message right away, that's the reason why. And so we're using that quite a bit inside our organization, and we set up this policy that all my team members have to maintain that status. So that's something just briefly that I think is a great opportunity. One of the nice things is you can actually set it to automatically shut off after a certain amount of time. So if you're going to go to lunch, you can have it go away at an hour interval, or however you set that. And then when people go to chat with you, so I'm sitting here chatting with Eric Guzman and my team, notice that his status message there at the bottom is he's currently crushing it, which he does every day on our help desk. And so when you go to chat with somebody, you can see what their status is. If you try to chat with them and they're at lunch, it'll show that they're out to lunch, and maybe put in the time frame that they'll be back or something like that. So that's one little feature that we found that is pretty cool. The next thing is obviously from the name of the software, Microsoft Teams, is the idea about creating these groups or creating these teams. So think of teams inside of Teams as collaboration group. So we have some default teams. Usually inside your organization, you have a default team of your entire organization, but you can create different teams inside of there. So if you click on the Teams tab on the left side, and then you can click on Create a Team when you go in there at the bottom left if you notice that bottom left, is you can create, start creating a team there. And then it gives you the option to create a new team or join a team with a code, which generally inside a small organization, you just create a new team from people that are there. You can create a team from scratch, so add people as you desire, or if you have existing Office 365 groups, which most people aren't using that type of feature, you can create it from an existing group or team that's in there. One of the nice features is you can actually create the team as private so that the messages that are shared between those members are kept private, or you can have a public group if you want to have it available for anybody that can join inside your organization and chat in that, or you can automatically have everybody inside your organization be part of that team. So if you want to have, you know, company notifications or things like that that are going on, you can create an organization-wide team that you post those, and then it would show up in everybody's activity inside of Teams. So just different options. In this example, I'm creating a private team, and I'm creating a sales and marketing team. So I named it sales and marketing, and you just go in here and start typing people's names, and you can add them into the team. So I added Sherry, who's our marketing manager, and everybody inside the sales and marketing team to this. You can create as people as members, which means that they have the ability to collaborate but can't change or add members to the team, or you can identify them as owners to the team, and then they can add and remove people as necessary from the team. So once that's done, so there's your team, and you can start inside that team. You can go down here and start a conversation. Everybody inside that team would receive that notification. And I'm going to get into in a minute some additional features of these teams that I think are pretty cool, and we use quite a bit inside our organization. But before I get there, there's just one other thing that I want to point out, which is the ability to synchronize with your calendar. So one of the cool things with Microsoft Teams, because it's built into Office 365, it has access to your calendar. So if you notice that this tab here on the left, you click on calendar, and that's what's going to show up in your Outlook calendar. Same information back and forth. And I just wanted to bring that up because I'm going to be referring to this in a minute. But just so that you know, it does sync with your current Outlook calendar, all your meetings and everything like that. So team meetings, that's one of the cool features of Microsoft Teams, is the ability to have meetings. These team meetings can be video or audio only, and it's an opportunity for you guys to collaborate just as you were sitting around a conference table or hopping it onto somebody's, into somebody's office or cubicle as you were before. So you can do impromptu meetings, video conferencing or audio. You can do scheduled meetings, and I'm going to show you how to do both in just a second. So the first thing is if you can do this inside of either the chat or if you create a team. So I'm going to give you this example here. I'm in the Teams, the sales and marketing team that I just created a few slides ago. And I hit a little button on the bottom side. I'll go back 2 sides to show you what button I hit. So I push this little video button there. When you push that, you get this window that pops up. So you can either click Meet Now, or you can click Schedule a Meeting. So if you meet now, it's going to call everybody with video or not that's in that meeting. One of the things I should note too when you're creating meetings, just as a side here, is you can invite people outside your organization to these, but if they don't have computer audio and video, you would have to have one of their more enhanced plans, the E5 subscription, to be able to do a call-in, like a Zoom meeting or something like that. So even if they're not part of your organization, they can still join into Teams meetings through their computer, but they don't have a call-in number that they would subscribe to. So when you click on that, in this slide, I clicked on schedule a meeting here. So I want to schedule a future meeting. Let's say I want to schedule a recurring meeting for sales and marketing every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And so it pops up. You can create a title, you can add additional attendees, but since I created it already in my Microsoft Teams, it added everybody here in the sales and marketing team automatically as part of that. And but if you wanted to add some additional people inside the organization, you can do that too. And then once you do that, you just click send and it adds it to their calendar. And I'll show you in a minute how to join a meeting. So just really quick and easy inside of Teams to create meetings. A lot of us, me included, I live my life, I swear, in Outlook. If I had to move to an alternative reality, like Tron, it would probably end up looking something like Microsoft Outlook because that's what I live in half the time. You can create Teams meetings inside of Outlook. If you remember, I mentioned before, because it's all part of the Office 365 ecosystem, Outlook and Teams are connected. So when you create a calendar item inside of Outlook, there's a little option you'll notice it's popped up recently. This is, again, in the last couple of months, is to create a Teams meeting. So you click on Teams meeting, and then if you notice, it brings up some additional options here. Down at the bottom, it automatically puts in this join Teams meeting as part of the body. The location shows up as Microsoft Teams meeting, and then you can add in who you want that meeting to be in that meeting. So you can add people inside your organization, or again, if you want to do it outside your organization, even if they don't have Microsoft Teams, they can join in to that meeting through their web browser. So that's a cool thing if you want to do some Teams meetings and you don't have, with small groups, if you don't have Zoom or GoToMeeting, this is all included. So it's you don't have to necessarily use Zoom or GoToMeeting for these type of meetings. So how to join. Inside of Teams, you can join several ways. Again, I mentioned the calendar. So you notice right here, I have my marketing Teams meeting that I set up right there. This is one version behind the latest version of Teams that just came out this week. Has a little button here that you can join the meeting. If you don't have that, you can click on that, and then on the top right of the meeting, you just click join, and then it will start that meeting up. If you're inside of Outlook, same thing. You can click on the meeting invite and just click the join Teams meeting on the bottom portion of that Outlook invite. And then if you're on your desktop, it will automatically bring Microsoft Teams up and join you in that meeting. And I'll show you some examples of what that meeting looks like here in a second. So when you're in a meeting, I think one of the coolest features, in my opinion, of Microsoft Teams is this ability to collaborate on documents simultaneously. So it gives you the ability to collaborate on documents inside of Teams and inside of chat real time. And so these files, when you upload files into Teams, they're stored in SharePoint, or what's commonly referred to as OneDrive for Business also. And when you do that, you can all edit those files at the same time. So if you want to look at what files that you've uploaded or used inside of Teams, there's a Files tab on the left side, and it shows you like the recent files you uploaded, files that are stored in Microsoft Teams. And if you're using OneDrive, it also links to your OneDrive, and you can add additional cloud storage if you're using third-party cloud storage applications, I believe like Dropbox and some of the other tools. But if you're using Office 365, I'd recommend using OneDrive or those options that are automatically built into the Office 365 ecosystem. So how do you do this? How do you edit files? So when I'm in a Teams meeting, I can upload a file. So if you look at the top here, you have the option for posts, which is where you're doing your chat, or you have the options for files. In the Files tab, you can upload files by either dragging and dropping the files just onto the screen. So if you have an Explorer window open, you can actually drag and drop files and drop them directly in here, which is how I got this file up. There's usually a link at the top to upload a file, so you can upload a file and just select it from your desktop. So those are or you can create a file from from scratch. There's an option, Microsoft Teams, to create the file from scratch. So there's two ways to edit the file inside of Teams. And so you'll notice either I can right click on it and click on the open tab, or I have some other options there, or I can click on this open right here. If I click on the open, it gives me, or the open right here gives me two options, Word Online or Word. If you click on Word Online, it opens the document inside of Microsoft Teams. The really nice thing about either one of these options, whether it's in the desktop app or in Microsoft Teams, is that whoever is in that file at the same time can edit it real time, and everybody sees the changes that are occurring in real time. So for example, if I'm trying to collaborate on this document with Sherry, this is the work from home document that we were editing. If I made a change here, and Sherry would see that immediately. But if you notice that the formatting of this isn't quite as good as it should be. I don't have my header up top. It's not quite as nice. And so you have the ability to open this document inside of Microsoft Word as a desktop app. If you clicked on open in Word Online first, you can click on the little three dots on the top right hand corner here, and then click on open in desktop app. Or before, originally, you can also click on open in Word, and then that would open in the desktop app directly. The nice thing about doing that is it gives you the full functionality of Word or Excel or PowerPoint or whatever document type of Microsoft document you're working on. This doesn't work for PDFs or documents that aren't part of standard Microsoft Office, but most of us are probably using Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Publisher, those type of documents already. And so if you open up in Word as a desktop, you'll notice that my formatting's back. I have my header in there, the formatting's look similar, and I have all the same functionality that I have in the desktop app. On top of that, it keeps the collaboration. So even if Sherry, maybe I'm working on this with Sherry at the same time, if she makes a change here, it's automatically changed there in the desktop app. So it's important that you make sure that some of these features are really brand new, and so it's important to make sure that you keep Office up to date when that little pop-up comes up and says, please update Office now. Making sure that you do that. A lot of the tools that we have on the computers force those updates anyways, but making sure that you keep Office up to date, because this is a brand new feature in the desktop app to this collaboration. Now, one of the questions that sometimes comes up is, where are these documents saved? If I dragged and dropped this document from my desktop, for example, or from a file server into Teams, it's saved inside of Teams. It's not on my hard drive anymore. It's in the cloud. And so if you wanted to, for example, download this file back to your drive after you guys are done collaborating on it, you'd have to go back into Teams, and there's this option right here to download that file so that you can save it back to your desktop or to your file server, wherever it may be, to save that file. So one thing I need to make really clear on that is the files that are in Teams are in the cloud. You can't collaborate on documents that are saved on your desktop or on a file server the same way. It has to be inside of Microsoft SharePoint, which is what you're accessing through Teams here. So that's one of the caveats, is all that collaboration has to happen inside of Teams on the files that are saved in the cloud. I think the more and more you use this, though, the more and more likelihood that you are going to continue to save those files inside of SharePoint for that collaboration. So you can, if you're working on a bunch of files as a sales and marketing team, you can obviously just keep those files, for example, inside of your sales and marketing team, inside of Teams. They might have need to make a different name for Teams, because saying Teams and Teams sounds a little odd, but that's just my preference. But so those are some features that I wanted to bring up. The last one is there's a whole ecosystem of additional apps that you can get access to or use inside of Teams. I don't have time to get into all of these, nor have I used all of these. But for example, we're using Zoom right now to do this webinar. And Zoom actually has an app that you can download and integrate with Microsoft Teams. And so if I have that app installed, I can actually schedule a meeting. It creates a new, you can see kind of in the background here, it creates a new little icon that's a more solid camera looking icon. And right from there, I can actually schedule a Zoom meeting. So if I don't want to use Microsoft Teams, maybe I need more people, or need that dial-in number for a conference call, you can actually schedule the meeting, and it integrates with Zoom directly, so you don't have to go to a separate app. So there's a lot of them. GoToMeeting. If you look at this icon in the bottom right corner, I use Evernote a lot for note-taking, and so there's an Evernote app that gives you integration between your Evernotes and Microsoft Teams. So another cool little functionality. Are there maybe any questions or things that you guys want answered? You can click raise your hand, or put the questions in the chat or the Q&A. I'd be happy to answer any questions about Teams. Again, I only want to take up about a half an hour at this presentation, just to give you guys a brief overview of some interesting features of Microsoft Teams. I don't see any questions coming up. If you have some more direct questions you'd like, again, more than happy to extend that offer of a consultation of how we're using Teams. I feel like Stimulus Technologies, we've really been effective about moving my staff to working completely remotely, and Teams has been one of the most integral parts of that. One of the other notes that I'd like to say is, as we've done Teams meetings, we've even, before this crisis, like my management meetings, most of the time we were using Microsoft Teams, even if a few of us were inside our office, or all of us were inside our office. For some reason, it makes the meetings more efficient, having that document collaboration at the same time, so we can be looking at the document, making changes in real time. It reduces on the paper. You don't have to print out a bunch of agendas or documents. You can bring up Excel files. It's really a powerful tool, and we found that our meetings are more collaborative, more productive, and honestly are a little bit shorter, because you don't have those little sidebars that happen sometimes at meetings, or distractions that can occur. It makes the meetings more efficient. So even if you guys are still working inside your office, or go back to working inside your office after this crisis is over, I highly recommend moving some or all of your meetings to Microsoft Teams. As far as I know, there's no limit to the number of attendees to these meetings that you create. So my staff here in Nevada is about 30 people. We have our general staff meetings now through Teams every Monday. And it only shows 4 people at one time on the screen with the video chat, which is probably enough. It automatically shifts who's talking to the forefront of the video. You don't want 30 people talking all at the same time anyways. But it's a great tool if your team's working remote, or even if they're working in the same office, it's a great way to collaborate. So I encourage you all to use it. Thank you so much for taking a half an hour today. I know time is valuable. We're all probably this week, those that are business owners are trying to figure out how to get some of this government grant and funding that came out over the weekend. So I really appreciate you taking your time listening to this webinar. We'll be sure to distribute this slide deck and the recording of the video to everybody that attended today. So again, thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I really appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody, and have a great rest of your week.